order at 6:10 p.m. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. This is the Board of Finance budget vote for the 2024-25 municipal budget. Here's how things kind of work for this meeting. Everybody should have a packet for voting that goes in the order of the accounts for that follow along in your budget book. We'll go through each section and I will ask for changes in each section. If there's something that somebody wishes to discuss or make a motion for a change, we'll do that. We'll ask for a second, and then we can have discussion and a vote on that. If we make a change in a section, I have been confirmed that we do not need to vote on each individual section, but we do need to vote on the total budget at the end, and then each of the enterprise accounts. And the other thing is we will go back to fringe benefits and those accounts at the end once we do the whole process. Any questions? All right, so we are going to start on page 1 in general government, and the first section is town council. Any recommended changes in town council? Hearing none, the total in town council will remain $107,172. The second section, the Trumbull Nature Commission. Any changes in Trumbull Nature Commission? The total will remain $5,268. Ethics Commission. The total remains $120. In the first selectman category, any changes? Scott?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion on line 501101 to reduce it to 30. I'm going to get through this tonight.
Is there a total? Is there a total that you want to reduce?
I want to reduce it to a number, so hang on. I can do the math.
I'll need the number of the change that you want to.
Sorry, my computer decided to kick me out and not save all my notes. A reduction of $2,126.
Can I have a second on that motion for discussion? Second. Thank you, Marty. Scott, your rationale?
We don't have any way to evaluate our non-union workers at this time. It was a question last year. We still haven't done anything with it for an annual review. I don't believe we should blanketly give 3% raises across the board without any kind of reviews. So I reduce it to 1.5%.
Any discussion? Here's my only concern with that. Merit raise, performance review is under the purview of the HR department. It's not under the purview of the Board of Finance. If the department asked to change the rate, that might make it easier to do that. I don't know if we have if that's in our purview to change the rate.
Well, it is.
I appreciate the thought. I would like to see us have a better performance review protocol. I think that, we tried to make sure that we were formal with the position that falls under the Board of Finance. So, I think that is something that we should follow up on, but I don't know how we would do that. How does anybody else feel about that?
But the line items for the salary are within our purview.
Yes, the line item is, but I don't think that it's good to manage HR issues through budgeting. It's one thing if we don't want the position, but I don't like necessarily handling the HR issue based on merit through budgeting. That's like when they would eliminate a position because they didn't want the person to be there, and that's
Correct.
happened in the past.
And that's a fair take. I just don't believe also that we should just blanket as a board just approve 3% just because that is.
Okay. Any other discussion? Go ahead, Marty.
I agree with the sentiment, but not the approach. So I agree with you, and I'll work with you as we go forward to try to get that in place. But I'm not going to vote for that. But I agree with the sentiment.
And I, just to add, I have this for every department. However, I will tell you if it's voted down now, I'm not going to make that motion every time. My feelings
I
don't
will
change.
really work with you then for doing it. Thank you.
My feelings won't change. I'm just, I'm not going to go down the line of a pointless task. But
Okay. All in favor of a reduction in the salaries, full-time permanent 501101 in the first selectman count, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So that will fail 1-5. But yes, I agree, that's something that needs to be discussed at the appropriate level. Any other changes in the first selectman's department? The total will remain $343,099. Probate. Any changes in probate? Hearing none, the total will remain $13,584. In elections, any changes? Mr. Galla.
I'd like to make a motion to reduce line item 581888 capital outlay by $3,000 to a total of $1,050.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Dave. The motion in here is a reduction in the capital outlay. I think it was discussed at our meeting that those were for laptops, which are already accounted for in the technology department. Anybody have any other issue with that?
Just for clarity, I think it was desktops that were
It was
desktops were in
Workstations.
there.
desktop workstations?
Correct.
They had asked that it be
They-
changed, and we discussed it, and they decided not. Or
It wasn't
in
a
the-
discussion for us, right? That was one that Bill had to have with the department. It just wasn't
Okay, but we're taking the $3,000 out.
correct because they're
Can I-
funded for computers.
All right, so since we're all in agree, can I take that by unanimous consent? All right. So the new total in the 581888 capital outlay account will be $1,050. And the new total for elections, Maria?
209,610.
Okay. Moving on to the finance department.
Motion to increase line item 501101 salaries full-time permanent by $32,619 for a total of $648,589 due to staffing increase.
Second. for
I'll second it, but
Thank you, Scott. Do you want a discussion on that?
how do we come up with that number?
So there was a request for a half-time position in finance. We wanted to make that a full-time position to allow for grant administration support. We like Dan. We don't want him to, be stuck at his desk 24 hours a day. And that is also to support the economic development department in grant administration. So Maria, that was the other half time of that position. Would we have to make an adjustment in the part-time, or we're just adding?
No, because in the part-time, in the full-time, I put in the original amount.
Okay.
The part-time amount.
Any other discussion?
So wait, how much was the total that you were looking to add?
$32,619.
Scott, there was 30,419 for reorg in the department.
Yep.
And that position, if it's a full-time position, would be about 63,000 based on the union contracts.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Can we discuss more before we
Yeah,
vote?
go ahead.
I am for this with the caveat that we remove the grant writer out of the economic development.
Okay.
Because based on what Rena had stated she didn't need the grant writer. This is what she needed. So rationalizing moving the money from one department to the other makes sense to me. Adding both doesn't. I understand that it's contractual and that she could just choose not to use it, but we also shouldn't include it just because, based on her words.
I asked when Rena came in if she could use another half-time position for the grant writing. She said she didn't need more grant writing support. She needed grant administration support. So I took that to mean she doesn't want to lose the grant writing support. This was in addition to that. And we can discuss that again when we get to economic development, if anybody has it in their notes as well. So right now, we'll vote on the 32,619. Okay. Does that answer your question?
I heard it differently.
Okay.
Being that I can't read the room, it will just, you'll see how I vote based on
ahead.
that, I guess.
Fair enough. I do not intend to vote to remove that half person from Rena later, just
Okay.
to be clear. So I would err on the side. We've done a great job in this town with grants, and I think Rena and her department in particular have done a great job. I hear your point. Is it possible that we could get a lot of it? But for $30,000 in the amount of grants we pull in, I wouldn't take that risk. So, and I happen to be, because of turnover at the charity I'm involved in some grant administration and the horrors of it. And so I totally understand what this is about. So I'm in favor of this.
Also, as far as that, I don't believe it's an actual person in Rena's office. I believe she has consultant.
She
help.
does.
So she only uses it when on an ad-needed basis. Am I correct, Maria? We're not paying a flat fee for that.
Correct.
So,
That's correct.
so we can talk about that again when we get to economic development. Right now, the motion is to add in salaries full-time permanent in the finance department, 32,619. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? 4-2. And the new total in that line item is 648,589. Are there any other changes in the finance department? If not, just a new total in the finance department, Maria?
754,387.
754,387 is the new total in the finance department. Moving on to the Board of Finance. Any changes? That will remain $102,062. Tax assessor. Any changes in tax assessor? If not, that total remains $877,577. Board of Assessment Appeals. That total will remain $3,750. Tax collector. Any changes? That will remain $394,862. Moving on to purchasing. Mr. Gala.
I'd like to make a motion to change an increase, line item 501105, salaries overtime, by $10,000 to a total of $25,000 to accommodate overtime.
Okay. Second? Thank you, Marty. An increase of 10,000 in the salaries overtime, 501105. Marty, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I just want to say I think our purchasing department does a really remarkable job with so few people, and so I want to ensure, rather than hiring a bunch more people, I'll give them a little extra overtime because I think they do. I think it's tremendous payback. So very grateful for all that department is doing, and I think a little bit more overtime is justified there.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay. Well, all those in favor of an increase in the 501105 salaries overtime and purchasing, an increase of $10,000, signify by saying aye. Okay. Against? 4-2. Any other changes in purchasing? A new total in purchasing, Maria?
172,111.
The new total in purchasing will be $172,111. In the town treasurer, any changes? That total will remain $27,647. In technology, any changes in technology?
Like to make a motion to decrease line item 581888, capital outlay, by $53,500 to a total of $52,400 for computer purchasing options.
And a second? Thank you, Scott. Vin, would you just remind us why we're reducing that and that assure everybody that we're going to get the equipment we need?
Looking at the cost, it seems to be a better program to lease the equipment versus buy it outright. I did review it with Bill Chin. The equipment does have a 5-year life, and we'll be able to get 125 workstations.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor of a reduction in capital out, oh, go ahead, Marty.
I thought you were.
Oh, go ahead.
I was back and forth. So 5-year life, normally I'm going to guess we use our technology longer than that.
Yeah, at the end of 5 years, we're able to buy it out.
We can just
for a
buy it
buck-
outright,
for a
whatever.
buck if we want.
Okay. That works.
They're not power users, so it's probably a good deal to do the lease.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Go ahead, Maria.
Vinny, can I get an understanding on that? So are we doing the 125 workstations for the 5-year term or the 3-year term?
We're going to use a 5-year term on the workstations.
So the 21,915?
That's correct. And
Okay.
that was without tax. You have to add tax to that as well.
And no laptops?
The laptops are still the 25.
Okay, thanks.
That's okay, Maria, you're clear? It's all the same amount of equipment? Yeah. Okay. So all those in favor of reducing the capital outlay 581888 account by $53,500 signify by saying aye. Aye. 6-0. And any other changes in technology? Maria, can I have a new total for technology?
1,401,681.
1,401,681. Town attorneys. No changes in town attorneys. It will remain $389,060. Human resources. Any changes in human resources? The total will remain $400,467. We're going to skip over employee benefits to come back to the end. How'd I do on that one, Maria? Proud of me? It only took 8 years.
I was going to say, I thought
Yeah.
you were going to do it.
Nope, got it. All right, moving on to town clerk. Any changes in the town clerk? Hearing none, the amount will remain $328,288. Town hall. Any changes in town hall? Hearing none.
I don't
Go
know
ahead.
if I have a question. Well, I don't know if I have an adjustment, but I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
On line, it's 578804, which is for our contracted rate for refuse. It was reduced to $1,100. Did this year's bill go up, or the reason I'm asking is because that was moved. We moved the health department to their own, but the health department plus this department is more than
Yeah,
the revised
there was
budget would've
also
been.
an increase during the year.
There was, okay. Thank you. Then I have no change.
Okay. Anything else in town hall? Then if hearing none, the amount for town hall will remain $2,483,162. Planning and zoning, any changes? No changes in planning and zoning, $354,854. Economic development.
Trying to keep up.
Yeah, economic development. This, go ahead, Scott.
Motion on line item 522202. Need to make sure I got the twos right.
Yeah.
For a reduction of $20,000 for funding of a grant writer for Yeah, the contractor.
So that's the 25,005?
No, it's 20,000 out of it.
20,000.
The 5,005 is other items.
There's, okay. Can I have a second on that motion, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dave. Discussion. Go ahead, Scott.
Based on how I heard Rena, she basically was doing all the grant writing herself and found the tedious part was the back end, which was just funded as another position, and that she didn't need this because she was the one doing the work.
I recall her saying, this is Marty, I recall her saying that she's excellent at that and didn't want to spend her time on the grant administration. I'm not comfortable enough that I got into the detail to remove that 20,000. I do trust Rena that if she didn't need to draw that 20,000, she wouldn't, but I don't want her. I think we're doing a good job on grants, but I think there's a lot more out there. If anything, I'd be on the other side saying we should add another 50 grand into this and get more grants that we're eligible for. I'm not doing that, but I definitely don't want to take it away.
I would suggest that with the addition of the grant administrator, it would free up the people who are doing that work, as Marty was saying before, to go out and get additional work. I would echo that.
Well, but the one going out to get the work is Rena. She already.
The only thing I'd say is if we're wrong on this, the town, it's easier for the town council to cut the 20 if we're wrong, than add it back if we mistakenly took it out. I think they need more votes to add back after we take it out. Am I right about that?
Originally, when I had brought this up last year, I had wanted it to be another person in Rena's office. I think that there are a couple of departments that were understaffed. She felt that the consult fee was better. Maria, do you have a number on what she used for the year in that account for consultant?
Hasn't used very much. I have 4,600 a while
Okay.
ago.
So let's, if it was,
Support's not having it, but
I think
If
if
she
the
doesn't need it, she doesn't use it, that's for sure, because it is a contract.
right, but we're still taxing
Yeah.
for it now.
Okay. The motion on the floor is to remove $20,000 from services and fees professional, the 522-202 account in economic development. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 2. Against? Okay. So that will fail 2-4. And the total will, I'm sorry?
Really hot. Like,
Yeah, come sit up here.
Scott, again, he's going to bring it to 100 degrees.
we have up next.
The total in economic development will remain $221,577. Moving on to Inland Wetlands Commission. Any changes? Hearing none, that will remain $9,525. Conservation Commission. Any changes? The total remains $16,060. Transit District. No changes. That will remain $44,084. So we don't do a total in general government because we have to go back and do benefit. 8 years. All right. Moving on to public safety. In the 0102 to 000, this is the police department. Any changes?
Make a motion in line item 578801, maintenance repair service contract, to increase 15,000 to 265,000.
Second. Thank you, Marty. The rationale?
Their requested amount of 282, and the first selectman moved that budget to 250, and we thought that there might be some play in there for them to get a little bit more done.
Vin, was this the account that their actual last year was 274,
And it was over, yeah.
275? And then it was, so, okay. Any other discussion?
It just gets them closer to the 275.
And then if they had extra, they could transfer if they needed to. Okay.
So they did spend 275 last year.
Yeah.
And Maria, do we know where they're at year to date on 578801? The reason I'm asking is I thought they said that they did need it all.
Right. I think we looked at what their surplus was projected to be this year, where their run rates were, and that we thought that they would have money to transfer within their department.
Okay. And the police has returned money to us.
Yeah.
The last 2 years.
They,
I just want to know got all the info, but I'm really not worried.
they have leftover 16,857, but they have encumbrances of $28,000.
Do you think they'll have money to cover it within their department?
Oh, yeah, they'll have money.
So 15,000 would be an adequate add back, and then they should be able to cover the difference.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion about a motion to add $15,000 to the 578-801 maintenance repair service contract in the police department? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Anybody against? 6-0. Any other changes in the police department? Okay. Maria, the new total?
$11,087,544.
087544. The new total for the police department will be 11,087,544.
Can we double check that? Sorry, I have 11,087,544.
That's what she said.
087.
She said 087. Yeah, that's what she said.
Sorry. That's fine.
Good night, guys.
If that's the worst mistake we make, we're all right. Moving down to animal control.
Let's see if I get this one.
Okay.
Going to make a motion to amend line 534402, program supplies, and increase $1,500 to $6,500 due to food cost.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Dave. Anybody not want to feed the doggies? I'm taking that one by unanimous consent. Any other changes in animal control? Just the new total, please, Maria.
$164,110.
The new amount for animal control, $164,110. Moving on to emergency medical services. This is not emergency management, this is EMS, because we keep getting that wrong.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
Going to make a motion to amend 501101, salaries, full-time permanent, by $35,542, increase to $959,195 due to new employees.
Thank you, Scott. This was the discussion that we had with Colin, that we anticipated not hiring a position, so it was reduced to a half year, but they have that position hired, so they needed to adjust the salaries.
I thought he had one hired and he was still interviewing for the other.
I thought that was the paramedic, and then the EMTs is still open.
Yeah, I think there are 2 EMTs open, but they hired the paramedic. So the paramedic's in place.
Is that true?
Oh my God,
They
Scott,
were-
you're like
they were-
Mary. Everything I say is like, is that really true, Marty?
She was wondering.
I was told they were interviewing.
So they're interviewing. They have not hired a paramedic. And he said that they had 2 applicants, but his pull through was 20% on applicants. So that to me doesn't guarantee 2 applicants means that they're going to hire someone.
Why? For some reason, I thought they did hire. Are we looking at 2 different line items?
I don't believe so. I thought it was hired, and I spoke with him today to confirm the number, just to make sure that I had the right thing. And I have to tell you, he's our new director, and I don't think he asked for a lot, and I really like him, and I'd like to let this one go. I'd like him to stay. But I understand your concern. I don't want to be wrong on this, because I believe that we've already hired that position, or that it is pending hire, that it will be filled by July 1.
I'd also say let's do the same thing that for town council. If we're making a mistake here, let them adjust it. But I would go in that round and make sure. That'd be my point of view.
Okay. How much was the number again?
We're going to add $35,542 to the salaries full-time permanent, 501101.
just to say it. Just remembering that that number isn't just that number, right?
Right,
There's
it'll
also
be a fringe
another
benefit.
half year of benefits and other things that
Understood.
increase on top of that.
Yeah. But I think we really need that position hired. It's been vacant, and that's a hard position to fill. So if they can do it. I know, but I'm still. Let's do this. All in favor of increasing the salaries full-time permanent by $35,542, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
5. It's okay, Scott. 5-1.
You can disagree.
It was very sound reasoning. I think I like Marty's explanation that we'll let the town council fix it if we made a mistake.
I choose not to trust others.
Dave, what is the percentage on that?
I'm sorry?
What is the percentage on 35,000 on 200 million? It's a lot of decimals. I think we'll be okay,
It's a few
Scott.
zeros
All right.
after the decimal.
Any other changes in emergency EMS?
I've got an even smaller decimal here for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Change in 501105, salaries overtime, to increase by $8,350 to a total of $56,350 due to anticipated OT.
Due to what?
Anticipated overtime.
So Dave made the motion and Marty seconded that, and then discussion?
Now, maybe I didn't see it, so I do want to know. I did ask him to come back with how many hours they used in overtime, and I don't recall seeing that.
I sent back up to you guys that he sent yesterday. I'm going to find that email right now. Marty, did you want to speak to that?
I just want to congratulate him for running a great department, and I really liked his presentation that he gave, so that's part of my rationale. I think he's doing a great job.
We know how to get Marty. Be nice.
Nice.
Yes.
Everybody listening?
Yes.
When did you send this? Because I didn't get any email yesterday. I haven't
I
gotten one from
forwarded.
you
He
since.
sent it on Thursday. I sent it over the weekend. I sent it very late at night because I was in Boston. So it would be Friday evening that you got it. It's the Trumbull EMS financial performance and overtime calculation PDF. So here, let's go to this. Scott, these are little tiny numbers.
Yeah, this is it, Scott, right here.
It was a chart with very tiny numbers. Scott's going to decipher.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a printout.
Got a printout.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that.
All right.
It's easier to read.
I'm good. I didn't recall getting this, and honestly, if he didn't send it, I would have voted no just
Okay.
because.
All right, any other discussion on the increase in salaries overtime in the 501-105 account for $8,350? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Scott, was that an aye? Oh, all right, 6-0.
I was against it if he didn't send the email.
Okay.
Not because he didn't need it.
Oh, no, he was very good. And he sent a follow-up because I didn't respond right away. Emergency medical services new total, please, Maria.
$2,078,252.
78,252. The new total for EMS will be $2,078,252. Fire marshal.
Motion to amend line 534402, program supplies, decrease by $4,500 down to $800 total due to ARPA funding for that line.
A second? Thank you, Scott. So this is the iPads for the fire marshal's department. We had a lengthy discussion, and it was recommended that we move that to, there were a few other items to be discussed for ARPA funding for our remaining ARPA money, because it was a one-time expense. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All right. 6-0. And a new total in fire marshal,
$529,016.
the new total in fire marshal will be $529,016. Fire marshal fire hydrants. Hi, Elaine, if you're listening.
They went down.
They went down. The total will remain $1,530,816. Building official, any changes? The total will remain $482,125. Emergency management, any changes? The total will remain $91,042. And can I have a new total for public safety, Maria?
15,962,905.
$15,962,905.
900.
As we're at the end of the section on public safety, the new total with the changes in the fire marshal and EMS and the police department, the new total would be $15,962,905. All those in favor of the new total for public safety signify by saying aye. 6-0.
May I just
ahead.
add one? We didn't address it because it was already taken out, the scopes for the guns. We had discussed during the other meeting to have them come back.
Correct.
Whatever, get that
So
included
it
in
was
our-
$11,000 for equipment for the sights on the guns. They wanted, that was a third of their program. That was also recommended originally to come out of the seized property account. They didn't want to do that, so they removed it, and it's going to be requested through ARPA. And we asked that when they make that request, that they make the request for the total amount to do all of the guns, which I believe was
44,000.
44,000. It was an additional 30,000. So that will take care of all the equipment, not just a third of it.
Yep.
Okay. Good. So we have a new total in public safety. We just decided on that. We're moving on to public works. Any changes in this? Dave, we have a requested change. I have the number that came later. It's for the 501101 salaries full-time permanent. Can somebody make a motion to adjust that account by an increase of $3,315? Go ahead.
You have the wrong department.
I'm in the wrong department?
It should be the next one.
Public Works Director, I thought.
No, she's not in that department.
Okay, nobody make that motion. Everybody stay where you are. All right. So are there any changes in the Public Work Director?
You used one good agreement.
All right, good. So that total will remain $336,701. Public Works street lights, we have no changes in there. $369,000 worth of street lights. Public Works highway. No, you go for it. That's okay. You make the motion. I'll just give you the number.
I'd like to make a motion to increase.
The
give me the
account
number.
501101
501101.
by
Salaries full-time permanent by $3,315.
$315.
You know?
I'll second.
Thanks, Marty.
All right. So after some lengthy, this is an adjustment to the salary for the comptroller.
Just because?
There's rationale that goes with that. We had discussed it at our meeting, but we didn't have an accurate number. It,
Share that with us so we can.
yes.
Okay.
That my understanding was it puts that position in line for the people below. It was an adjustment, like we've done with some of the other admin positions in the past. It is a request for the Public Works Controller. The position's currently a 19-hour per week position. It was increased in the first selectman's budget to 25 hours per week, but it neglected to also raise the salary to align with other similar union wage positions of similar responsibility and capacity. Any other?
Right now, she's in the full-time department, 50110002. Does that make it a full-time position? Well, we can.
I
move
thought
on.
30 hours was the full-time threshold.
Right. So we'll flip it after, I guess.
So do we not
So
have
we,
it?
we need to flip the full amount from the part-time. And we should do the 44 plus the 3315 and reduce the 44 from the,
Okay,
part-time.
so you want us to amend this motion, and it should be an increase of, what is the number?
so it would be the 44
44,
plus the 3315.
so 47,
44, 130, 47, 450 to the 501102.
okay, so let's do that first. Can I have a motion to amend the amount to 47,450? Somebody just say so moved.
So moved.
All right, I'm giving that one to Rosemary.
Go for it.
All right, and thank you. Scott Zemo. Okay, so the motion is to adjust that salary. We're moving it from the part-time to the, we're gonna do a reduction in the part-time account per Maria. So the total that we need to increase 501-101 salaries full-time is 47,450. All those in favor signify by saying aye. That was tentative, Scott. 6-0.
Well, I'm not sure what we just made a motion on.
Well,
No, I know what we're accomplishing.
if, look at the,
Make sure I follow the motion.
look at the part-time position, the 501102.
Right. So the motion was to amend the amount.
You will. You have to do that.
The motion was to amend the amount to 47,450. Now I need everybody to accept that we're increasing the 501-101 account by that 47,450. Anybody not want to do that? Signify by saying aye. No, so we're adding that money to the account. First, we had to change the amount. So we changed the amount, now we're adding it to the account. Okay, that's also 6-0. And then the account that we need to reduce, Maria, is the salaries part-time, which is the 501-102 account.
For the full amount.
For the full amount, we're going,
44,135.
so,
So in that case, I'd like to make a motion.
yes, to reduce that amount.
In line 501102, salaries part-time permanent, to reduce it by 47,450 to zero. No? 44,000, excuse me, 44,135, excuse me. Thank you.
Here you go.
Tough crowd.
Okay, I just need a second. Thank you, Scott. Anybody not want to do that? I'm taking that by unanimous consent so we can move on.
I don't want this job.
Okay,
More.
other adjustments in Public Works Highway.
The new total for 101.
The new total for the 101, Maria?
2,319,635.
635. In the 501-101 salaries full-time permanent, the new total will be 2,319,635. The new total in the salaries part-time permanent, the 501-102, will be zero. Okay. Other adjustments in Public Works Highway.
Doing it again. Here we go. In line item 534402, program supplies, increase of 35,000 to 225,000 for catch basin cleaning.
Thank you, Scott. Discussion? My recollection is that this was a change in the contract, in the amount of the vendor to perform the service, and we needed to make the adjustment so that they'd be able to still clean the same number of catch basins. Any other discussion?
Just clarity, I don't know if they have a contract. I don't know if we have a vendor. They were still searching for one. The price just increased.
With the current vendor? I
No,
thought
no,
they
it was
were-
kind of, they were working their way down the list.
Okay,
I'm just saying things could change. It wasn't contracted, negotiated price that's already locked in.
okay, but we're good with the 35,000? That was the number requested for that change. Any other discussion? All those in favor of increasing 534402 program supplies by 35,000 signify by saying aye. 6-0. And the new total in that department would be 225,000, or in that line item. Any other changes in Public Works Highway?
One more. Line item 581888, capital outlay. increase of 14,000 for trucks.
Trucks. Anybody want to
Truck.
second? Somebody,
Singular.
somebody want to second that? Okay, Paul. And this was it had been removed twice. It was a $14,000 fix to remedy that.
Which one? Which truck is the goal? Because they were both 14,000, right?
It was no longer fixable.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. 6-0. Are there any other changes in Public Works Highway?
Please.
Go ahead.
Same line item, 581888. Remove the 21,000 for wireless remote control for the Stetco catch basin cleaner.
Scott Zema, 21,000.
Yep.
Second for discussion. Thank you, Rosemary. Discussion?
Honestly, seems like a want, not a need.
Line item again, Scott?
Capital outlay.
581888. It's the same count. Yeah.
So,
When they talked about it, were they talking about mostly safety when they were
Yeah.
discussing it?
They were stating
I
it
just-
as a safety issue, but standing next to a big honking truck seems fairly safe to me. I know I'm not the one out there doing it, but it's built on these machines to work that way. All these machines are regulated. I have to assume that there'd be some kind of safety issue if it was a safety issue not being built on the truck.
I have in my notes, the wireless remote catch basin wireless remote is to increase safety, and it was a recommendation after the OSHA inspection.
I didn't hear any recommendation from OSHA on that one.
No, for safety. Was that part?
So it's as a result of the inspection?
I don't think it's
No.
a result of, but they said that was one of those things. It was a safety issue. That's what I just had that in my notes.
Nobody here that can answer that for us.
Go ahead, Marty.
I would say, why don't we just give, from my perspective, I'll give more homework to the town council to get deeper on that. So I'm just gonna, I hear you. I hope town council hears you and they can take a look.
Mary, do you have anything in your notes?
I actually didn't on that, but I was confused about that discussion.
Okay.
Say when he was discussing, I had the same question.
Okay.
Sorry, Marty.
I'd prefer not to punt to them, but
Wow, Marty, you're right then.
Okay. All those in favor of removing $21,000 from the 581888 capital outlay account signify by saying aye.
aye.
Against? 2, 4.
You still have to give a total on that one, though.
The total for capital outlay, can I have the new capital outlay total, Maria?
142,835.
142,835 in the 581888 account. Do you have any other changes in that? Public Works Highway, new total, please.
$3,047,916.
$3,047,916. Highway snow removal. Any changes? The total will remain $410,000. Public Works building maintenance. Any changes? Marty?
For account 578802, the maintenance repair, I'd like to add $50,000 to that. I think, I'll wait for a second.
Go ahead. I need a second. Thank you, Scott. Go ahead, Marty.
I think the department was looking for more money, and I do believe the idea that it's less expensive to fix proactively than to wait for things to break. They wanted $75,000, so I'll go $50,000.
This was an account that we increased at this level, and I think Marty and Scott, you talked about this, that should be budgeted for more closely. We voted, and then the town council removed our increase. I think at one time we talked about, they had asked for 150,000. We had reduced it to 75 last year, and then the town council pulled it out. So I would probably support that.
I'm going to be a pain for a minute.
That's okay.
Because I do agree. However, I don't know how much some things cost.
Maria, where are they on their building maintenance account for this
All the
year?
reductions we want to wait for town council, but the increases we want to do now. It seems.
I have a big reduction coming up you're going to be really excited about.
I'll hold you to that. then.
I have a good one.
Where are they for the
It's
year?
currently over budget by 55,000, but they do have encumbrances of 85.
So they're over budget by 135.
No, they over budget by 55,000, but they have open POs that haven't been expended of 85,000.
Can they cover it?
If they're using the same vendor. But I don't know. They might be able to cover with their salaries because I think they were understaffed.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of increasing building maintenance, repair, and equipment, the 578,802 in Public Works building maintenance by $50,000 signify by saying aye. Aye. And against? Okay. 5-1. Paul is our no. And the new total in that account will be,
328,000.
okay. And then the Public Works building maintenance, a total,
$1,286,096.
the new total in Public Works building maintenance, $1,286,096. Fleet maintenance. This is a good one, Scott. You'll be happy.
We'll see. But I'm waiting.
We're going to make a reduction here, Scott. You ready? Line
Bucks.
Hold on. You owe Dave an apology.
47 cents. Come on. Line 567701, transportation, gas, oil, grease, to reduce by $71,300 to $438,500. Not $10.
Okay. This is to reflect the fact that they locked in the fuel price at a lower rate. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, 6-0, we saved $71,300. And a new total in fleet maintenance, please?
438,500.
No, that's
The whole department.
yeah, the whole de-
1,249,769.
The new fleet maintenance total, $1,249,769. Okay, Marty, recycling center. Hang on, Scott, here it comes.
We got more?
Yes.
Life is good.
All right. Motion to reduce line item 5222204, services and fees contractual, by $150,000 to a total of $2,650,000. Due to usage.
Marty, you want to explain that?
Yeah, the run rate continues to go lower, and so true for a lot of the waste and true for leaves as well. I personally think it's because of that powerful sustainable committee, but there's no way to be certain what's driving it down. But it's clear it's down. And so, I mean, if you remember last year, we actually took $700,000 out of this account, and we're doing fine. So, we're only taking 150 out, and so I think that's an appropriate estimate.
Scott?
I like that he can read Mary's notes. I'm good.
Okay, all those in favor of removing $150,000 from service fees contractual, the 522204 account in the recycling center, signify by saying aye. Aye. Everybody wants to take more money out. That's a savings of $150,000. The new total in that line item will be $2,650,000. And our new total for the recycling center, please, Maria?
$2,948,312.
New total for the recycling center, $2,948,312. Moving on, town engineer, any changes? No changes. The town engineer will remain $736,788. And can I have a new total for public works?
$10,384,582.
With all of the changes, our total for Public Works would be $10,384,582. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 6-0. Moving on to Public Health. Any changes in the Health Department? The total in Health Department will remain $574,324. Changes to vital statistics? No changes to vital statistics. Our total will remain $1,200. Nursing for the seniors. No changes. Our total remains $35,163. Our total in public health would then remain $610,687. All those in agreement that the total for public health is $610,687 signify by saying aye. Okay. Moving on to the next department, social service and human services. Any changes in social services? Our total will remain $135,884. The Mary Sherlock Counseling Center. Scott?
I'd like to reduce line item 534401. I don't know what that stands for. Something office.
Materials and supplies office?
That by $1,645.
And can I have a second on that? Rosemary?
I'll second.
Okay, and then your rationale?
She said it was for a locked file cabinet, which I was willing to take out and then fund right away. But then they thought they had it, and we said come back to us with the numbers and what you do need, and I didn't get anything. So I assume that means they don't need anything.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of a reduction in the 534401 materials and supplies? Go ahead.
It's not just for that. It's also other supplies for the office. I don't know if you want to reduce the entire,
Do you have the amount for the filing cabinet?
I do not.
I don't know. Honestly, I said, what's this line for? We had no answer and didn't come back with any numbers. I'm hard pressed to give money if you can't ask for it.
Hang on one second. She's looking through her
But I
notes over
mean,
there.
they're nice.
It's about $1,000 a year, approximately. So I would,
So the revised budget for 2023, the 2023 revised budget was 1445. So do we have any idea of what that cabinet was?
but they've been incurring about $1,000 other than 2022.
Then
which was
I'd like to
you wanna amend that?
my motion to reduce it by $645 against my better judgment.
A second to amend?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of amending that adjustment to $645, reduction in the 534401 account signify by saying aye. Okay, so now, do we, yep.
You know what, for you, Scott,
Wait, now, everybody who's in favor of reducing by $645 signify by saying aye. Yeah, okay. Now, if you want to make the reduction for $645, signify by saying aye. Aye. There you go, Scott. You got to win. All
I'd
right.
like everyone to
So the new
recognize
total-
still that we were nice.
So the new total in that account will be $1,000. No other changes in Mary Sherlock Counseling Center. Our new total, I think I got this one on my own, Maria. We'll go up 406. I'm sorry, I don't, because I was got the $1,000. I was like, I could do this.
407,219.
219. Hi, so close.
Can I just add a comment? And you brought it up when we were talking. Why, as a whole, do we not
yes.
buy our
Yeah.
supplies for the town instead of each department going out and sourcing their own?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Maria.
We buy them for the whole town. It's just charged to the different departments that use it.
Okay, but you do.
Yes.
All right, moving on to senior citizen services. Any changes? No changes? That total will remain $433,952. Can I have a new total for social services and human services?
$977,055.
The new total for social services and human services, $977,055. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. 6-0. And we're moving on to education. We are having a nice night. Motions or changes in education?
I guess I'll make a motion. I'd like to motion to reduce line item 522205 by $500,000. So I want to talk for a minute. I need 2 minutes to kind of go through some rationale here. First of all, I applaud the first selectman for putting in a 4% increase. I think the 4% increase is the right number, and I actually stand by that number, the 4%. So I'll talk about 500,000 is really an accounting issue, not a change. I think, and other people should comment on this as well. From my perspective, that 4% more than meets the needs of what the board had requested. The insurance line item, thankfully, has come down by over $900,000. The salary line item is historically over budgeted. Looked where we stand roughly right now, we are over, looks like it's over by around over $1 million, maybe 1.2 million right now. The busing, I'm a huge, as you know, huge fan of going to start time. They proclaim they need $500,000 in one solution. There's another solution that would actually provide additional savings. So those three line items alone provide 100% of what the Board of Ed has requested, 100% of what they need to run the school system. And I'm in support of that. I'm not looking to cut it. The only thing I am looking to do is an accounting issue. So they're going to still get 100% of their money. I am recommending that we reduce $500,000 from the operating budget and encourage them to use the non-lapsing account of $500,000 to do exactly what they need to do. To refresh the memory of people that may be listening, approximately 4 years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we set up a non-lapsing account as COVID hit. Couldn't do any 3 years ago, couldn't do any activities, couldn't run anything. There was massive savings across the school, obviously horrible. We didn't want that, but it did result in savings because you couldn't run any programs. And we put that money into, I think maybe the first time the town ever did it, put it in a non-lapsing account because we didn't know what was happening in COVID, and we didn't want to handicap the school system as they're recovering. And we came to an agreement that money would be used over the next year for very specific purposes. As it turned out, that money was not used the next year. They ran a significant surplus that year, and the things they had earmarked that money for, they used from their surplus and held the money in that account. What should have occurred, in my opinion, is that account should have been used and the surplus returned to the town, just as we do with every other department. I'm sure every department that we've talked about so far would love to have a non-lapsing account for when things happen, and I'm sure every account would love to have $750,000 available to them that they wouldn't have to go through a process, that they could just use that money. 3 years ago, and each year as we go forward, we've been assured that money is going to be earmarked and used. And I've waited 3 years for that money to be earmarked, to be used. And what's occurred time and time again, last year there was over $1 million surplus, and I applaud them for managing effectively to have $1 million surplus. But what happened again last year is they used that surplus money, they spent it down, and retained the money in the non-lapsing account. That's not their money, it's not my money. That's $750,000 of taxpayer money sitting in this account for the last 3 years when we've been told it's going to be used. So I come back to the fact that we should absolutely fund the district to the 4% level. I think the first selectman's 4% number is actually providing more when you add in all these changes that have happened to their budgets, probably providing more than what the school themselves requested. What I hope would happen with a 500,000 reduction is they'll have a choice. If in fact they need the $500,000 to accomplish everything they set out to do, and I believe that they do, they will take that money from the non-lapsing account. There's $750,000 in the non-lapsing account. I'm only requesting they use 500,000 of that. And I think that's appropriate. I don't think it's appropriate this money continues to sit in a non-lapsing account. I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers that it sits there. We certainly do not allow any other department to have these type of non-lapsing accounts. So that's my rationale. I'm sorry it was long, but I wanted to explain it. I'm 100% for the 4% increase that the first selectman provided. I am convinced that is more than what they themselves have requested to have an extremely productive year next year. This is strictly an accounting maneuver. They get 100% of the money they requested, but they should be using it from the non-lapsing account, and it should be appropriate to the taxpayer that we are not leaving funds in different accounts out there. I just don't think that's right. Thank you.
So here's a couple things. I don't disagree with any of the history and everything that you laid out. Three small corrections. It's $751,000, not $750,000. It was not in response to COVID. The year that the non-lapsing account was established, the request was 3.88%, and the first selectman's budget offered 3.0%. And it was, the request fell in line with the state statute that allows them to hold up to 2% of their operating budget. And they miraculously had enough to make the delta between what the first selectman offered and what they had requested. It was $908,000 that they had left over. It was like $846,000 or $868,000 that they needed was the difference in the reduction. And we put it in the non-lapsing account with an MOU, not an MOUSC, but an MOU, which is a letter that said that these were to be used on one time, that it was an understanding. And they chose not to follow that. I don't disagree with you that it is horrible. I was accused of calling it a slush fund, and that was a slur, and if that's the worst thing I ever say. But it is. It was a chance for them to hold that. And he said that when each time they voted to reduce money from that account, it's if they need to at the end of the year, if there's no money left in their operating budget. Most recently, they looked to take $441,000 out. It was 2 months ago during their finance committee. None of that money has been moved. The understanding on the account was if the money was there, that they had to notify the Board of Finance when money has been withdrawn. They have not withdrawn any money except the $150,000 to start Elite. That being said, I don't agree with drawing it back right now. I think that there's some important things. I've listened to the Jonathans, the Sarahs, the Jens, the Courtneys, who've all come out and said that there are things that they're not asking for that our district doesn't do that other districts do. I do agree with that. I think there are things that they could do to further the education system. Some of the issue for me lies in the fact that they came for a couple of supplementals along the way. They asked for some money for technology. We told them it should come out of the non-lapsing account. They found that money in their operating budget. It was never drawn out. The most recent, they asked for $125,000 to do the ed specs for a Hillcrest build in their master plan to add to the contract with Tecton. They're actually meeting a special meeting tonight to talk about those ed specs. That $125,000 was not paid out of the non-lapsing account, and they managed to find that in their budget. So that check was written. And regardless of where they fall at the end of the year, that $125,000 or $150,000, whatever that exact number was, that's a tag teacher that was removed from the budget. So I think it's important that parents understand, I don't have any problem with our school system. I don't have any problem with their educational goals and the things that they are doing. I do agree it's an accounting issue. And I'm going to vote against removing that money with the understanding that they understand that parents are watching and are aware, and they have priorities that need to be addressed. It's going to be up to the parents and to our taxpayers to hold the Board of Education accountable come May when they get their allocation. So I would like to be spiteful because I think I would like to draw that money back because I think they've not dealt with that account in good faith. That's my opinion. Go ahead.
I want to be clear. I don't think I'm being spiteful at all, right? So this is an accounting issue. I think we're granting them 100% of what they asked for in the money. I do urge parents for issues. I wish we had more than line item authority. I wish we had line item authority. We don't. And I hope parents stay very active in terms of things that are important to them, whether it's specialists or other things. They are getting 100% of the money they requested. The reality is, we expect from every department, if they operate effectively, the reward is not they get to keep the money. I mean, the challenge that I've had for the last several years of budgeting with the school board is we're playing kind of under unfair rules. If we don't give them enough money, and again, that's not the case this year, but if we didn't give them enough money, the children would be impacted, the system would be impacted. And so you have to rely in terms of what do we need to do to run a really effective system. However, the rules are also skewed that if I give you too much money, you're going to spend it and you're not going to give it back to the town. And I think that is inappropriate and not from a budgeting perspective. They're in their rights to do it. I'm not going to say they don't have the right to do it. But it's kind of like when you play a game of Risk. If you're really aggressive and you run things a certain way on one game, I guess you're going to get away with it. And it sounds to me like maybe it's going to continue. But I just want everybody to recognize this $750,000 that we're leaving in this fund is taxpayer money that is not being spent and just sitting in this pot that every other department, we don't permit that behavior. Every other department, when they run a surplus, it comes back into the fund and we don't keep it in a separate kitty in case they decide to do something. And by the way, I'll just add this. I am a huge fan of start time. And if they came back with a valid proposal in the middle of the year and said, I need $500,000 to do this and I can't do it, but I'm ready to move to 830, I'd write a supplemental, or I'd certainly vote and encourage everybody to vote for that supplemental. But I don't think it's appropriate the way this is being budgeted. I think they get 100% into what they want. I've made my point. I won't repeat it anymore. But the taxpayer money is sitting in this bucket, and I personally don't think it's fair to the taxpayer.
I don't disagree with Marty. Just to add on, I also did some calculations of their energy and utilities, just like the rest of the town, even though their budget was higher. They were saying the numbers were going up because we over budgeted last year. So there's even more money, because they indicated there was a $15,000 increase to those lines, which isn't actually true. Based on the reduction that I saw from our first selectman, they're essentially not getting the $500,000 for the school time start. That's it. They can function the school properly. And just to pile on with the money sitting in the account, based on the calculations that we had done for how much money we earn on our money, that's another $60,000 of interest income that's sitting there not being earned that we could have if it was in the general fund. I do agree with Marty. That's the end of mine.
I think my final comment is that in all of the years that I had spent advocating for education, I always said that it is hard to ask them to do more without some wiggle room. This 4% gives them wiggle room. I don't know if I'm willing to claw back that, although it galls me. And it is a slush fund. I'm not sure I'm willing to pull that back. Go ahead, Scott.
Sorry, just to add one more thing, because we had a couple emails that indicated what they wanted to do with the Board of Ed budget. Just reminding that we have nothing to, aside from here's your money. If you stop here, then everything that the people have asked us to do won't happen because we have no control over that. We can indicate what we would like, but that has, honestly, I believe that I have less impact on that than the parents.
Okay. So the motion in front of us is a motion in the 522-205 program expense account, motion to reduce that by $500,000, which would make that line item $124,030,402. All those in favor of a reduction of $500,000 to the Board of Education program expense line signify by saying aye. Against? That's going to fail 2-4. The total in the program expense account will remain $124,530,402. The total in education will remain $131,022,883. So let's be clear, that's about 2/3 of our overall budget. $131,022,883 in education. That is the total. Moving on to school nurses. Any changes? Go ahead, Scott.
I'd like to motion a reduction in 501101 of $47,532 to delay a pilot for the CNAs to get some more research done.
Can I have a
sorry.
second? Thank you, Rosemary.
Scott, can you repeat that number? 47,000?
532.
Yep.
Thank you.
And your justification again, Scott, was what?
I think there needs more research of if that's actually what we need to accomplish what they're after with the school nurses. If CNAs are the right approach, if an assistant's the right approach, I really don't know. I can't say I came out of the budget hearing knowing, besides that it was a want without a clear indication of that would actually solve a problem.
Go ahead, Marty.
Right after you so graciously supported my last motion. Here's the thing. This has come up for the last couple of years, and I actually because I think they wanted to do it across every school. So I like this idea of a pilot and see if it works or not. So I'm in favor of the 2 and not, I think they were looking for 9. So I like the idea of doing 2 to kind of get some real data. I'm not sure what research is. I'd like to just do it and see what happens, and if it solves a problem. Because I was tempted prior year to go with the 9, but I didn't know enough, and so I'd really like the pilot to prove the point. So I think this is a smart approach going with the pilot.
I have a tough time as a pilot to see if it works by adding employees because we all know it's very hard to go backwards on that.
All right. Any other discussion? I will say this is, I think, the 3rd year she's asked for additional help. I think this was a compromise to try the pilot.
Our first selectman reduced it. I don't know if it was a compromise or threw him a bone.
I believe that was it. Okay. All those in favor of a reduction in the 501101 salaries full-time permanent under school nurses signify by saying aye. Against? Okay, 2-4. Any other changes in school nurses?
I'd like to reduce line item 501888 uniforms by 1,500.
Go ahead. Second, please, Rosemary?
Yes, second.
And you're taking out how much?
All of it.
The whole thing.
1,500.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I was in the wrong line. I'm like, that's a lot of money for uniforms. Excuse me. So 1,500 uniform allowance, 501888. Sorry, my fault. I'm getting tired.
When the rationale is, well, somebody else had it, so I want it. That doesn't really fly for me. I'm sorry. That's not a good reason. And they aren't. The people that were compared to that needed uniforms are going out in the field, going to people's houses, going into their backyards, need to identify themselves. This person is sitting in an office labeled nurse with their name on the door. We know who they are.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of a reduction of $1,500 for a uniform allowance in the 501888 account signify by saying aye.
Oh, my God.
All right. We love you, Scott. And I'll need a new total, please, in the school nurse account. It was, yes.
1,093,669.
Thank God Mark's not here tonight. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it makes a cut.
It makes this cut.
We upped the threshold last year.
Oh, we did.
Yes, we did. Sorry. School nurses, the new total will be $1,093,669. Non-public school nurses. Any changes in that account, Scott?
Nope. Uniforms.
They did. The total in non-public school nurses will remain $384,646. BEI, Trumbull Business Ed Initiative, any changes? That will remain $12,100. Trumbull Community Television,
I'd like to make a motion to amend line item 5222205 program expenses, increase by $4,000 to $51,000 for videographers.
thank you, Dave, thank you, Scott. This was discussed when Kate and Lara came for their hearing, that this was a reduction, but with the new equipment, they're anticipating increased volume and to be able to manage that. All those in favor of the increase in the 522-205 program expense account by $4,000 signify by saying aye. Aye. 6-0. And I also want it noted that there were some equipment that was removed from the request by the first selectman with the intent to be funded through ARPA, and that we discussed that. That's also in that ARPA request that will come to us. So the new total for Trumbull Community Television, please.
It's $80,805.
$80,805. And a total education, please.
$132,594,103.
Total education, $132,594,103. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Scott? Okay. Against?
I'm against.
All right. 5-1-0. Libraries. Any changes in libraries? If not, the total will remain $1,917,220. And a total in library of $1,917,220. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay. Public events. $25,000 is the total and will remain the total. Moving on to parks. Any changes in parks? Parks total will remain $3,632,000. Okay.
From
Are you in the next department?
yeah, I think I got too far.
Okay, so parks total is $3,632,824. Then we move to tree warden. Yeah, that's okay. We talked.
I do have a motion in here.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, if my computer didn't shut down, I would have been better. I would like to make a motion to 522-205 youth program expenses to remove $25,000 for the community theater.
$25,000 from the 522-205 program expenses, a reduction of $25,000. Can I have a second, please? Second. Rosemary. All right, Scott, your rationale?
They haven't spent half the money that was given to them from ARPA last year, earned $72,000 this year, so I don't see why we need to fund it. And our first selectman said, not willingly, but she did say that they could do without it.
The 522-205 youth program. I put it in the wrong thing. Okay.
I make a comment.
Go ahead, Marty.
You know, I'd say I'm a huge advocate of this program, and if we are going to leave $750,000 in a account for education, and this program for $25,000 is very important to me in the town, or me personally, I think, and I think it's for the town. I agree with you. I think it's probably unnecessary. However, it was only the first year, and I don't know what may happen the second year. But if we're going to make crazy errors, from my perspective on education account, for this, I would continue to keep it here.
I'd argue that I think we both wanted to do rid of that account. So I don't know if using that as a rationale when you wanted to get rid of it too.
The first selectman would like to say something.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to clarify, it's not that I said that we don't need it, we just said there was a balance left in ARPA, but since I've been a great advocate of this program for many, many years, and I'm so happy that it's in our community and I want to stay here, I thank you all for supporting it. And to make $72,000 in one weekend for the first year of this show, I think was remarkable.
All right. So the motion is to remove $25,000 from the youth program expense account 522205 in the amount of $25,000. All those in favor? Against? Okay. 1-5. That will fail. Are there any other changes in parks? The total will remain $3,632,824. Tree warden,
I'd like to make a motion to reduce 501102, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to my math here. I apologize.
it's all right. We're actually doing pretty well. It's 25 minutes of 8.
Ten minutes of that is my fault.
10 minutes, and Dave owes you 10 minutes.
I'll take it.
You got it.
Well, I had everything, and I went to click on something, and it shut down without saving, so. I'd like to reduce that line item by $9,390.
$9,390. Can I have a second, please, for discussion? Thank you, Marty. Go ahead, Scott, with your rationale.
I mean, that's still giving the deputy tree wardens, got to make sure I get it right, a raise. The rationale that they deserve more, they just got hired a year ago or less at a salary, to then give them a 20% raise seems absurd to me.
I thought it was to move them in line with similar positions.
I think Dimitri said they deserve it, and they're worth it. But again, they just took a job at a pay rate less than a year ago, accepted that pay rate. Why should we then think that a 20% raise is within line of anything?
Were they new hires, or were they existing employees who took a new role?
I thought they were new hires.
I think one is a new hire.
One is a new
believe so.
hire. Okay. Maria, can you confirm that?
One is a new hire.
One is a new hire.
And are these licensed arborists? Vicki,
I
do you know
believe
that?
so, because they're both arborists for neighboring towns full-time as well.
Oh, they are.
At least according to the websites when I search the names. Take that for what it is. Because I was wondering the same thing, and I figured they had to be on some kind of registry if they were.
57 each.
Did Scott's motion get a second?
Yes, Marty seconded it. So we're having the discussion. So the discussion is the increase for the deputy tree wardens.
So Scott, with this motion, are you suggesting no raise, or what are you suggesting?
No, it is a raise. Sorry, let me see what that was.
$30 per hour?
It was not to $30. That's what they were asking for. That's
Maria, do you have any backup in your notes?
No. No, but the increase is $30. I mean, the hourly raise is $30. So I don't
And what
know.
was it in the current year?
25.
25.
You know what? I unfortunately was not here for that presentation. I'd be reluctant to overthink the. So for me personally, I'm not going to act on that. I'm kicking it again, but if it turns out there's something really peculiar, I'll let the town council deal with that. But I'm not going to do it on gut call because I don't know specifically where Dimitri and that department are on that.
I mean, overall, just a 20% raise in a year is.
The percentage is high, the number's still moderate. So I hear you, and I'd like them to comment, and town council can think about it, but I'm not going to
I
move on
thought it was for to be commensurate with that position in other places, that it was an underpaid position, but that's what I had in my notes. Okay. All those in favor of a reduction in the tree warden 501102 salaries, part-time permanent of $9,390 signify by saying aye.
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 3 and against 3, so that will fail. 3-3. No other changes in tree warden, so the amount will remain $303,340. I'm sorry. Dave, Marty, and myself. So the total in Parks and Recreation, Maria?
$3,961,164.
So there were no changes? Oh, okay. The total remains $3,961,164. Debt services. Maria, we're good with the total in debt services? The total in debt services,
Not good with it. We just can't do anything about it.
Paul was quiet on that, but he said we're not good with it, but we can't do anything about it.
We can stop bonding.
It's true. That's very true.
Just saying. He opened the door.
That's all right. You could deserve that. It would have been better with your microphone on, but that's all right. Total of debt services will remain $8,202,357. And can we do the total on the general fund, or do we come back to that at the end? Okay, moving on to the enterprise funds for sewers. Any changes in sewers? If not, the total will remain $10,947,253. All those in favor of the total for the enterprise fund for sewers remaining $10,947,253 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That'll be 6-0. Tashua Knolls Golf Course. Any changes? We were good? Tashua Knolls enterprise total remains $2,759,032. A total for enterprise funds combined would then be $13,706,285. All those in favor of that amount signify by saying aye. Okay, 6-0. All right, Maria, we go back up to fringe benefits. Somewhere.
Yeah.
There's no page on there. I just got to keep flipping. Employee benefits, the
63 on the Excel.
yeah. Maria, do we have any changes? Okay.
We have a change for the medical. There was a savings, and we had a position, so we netted those two. We have to reduce the medical account, which is 511151,
Yep.
for $126,475.
Okay.
We have to,
I'll make those. We'll make those motions and reductions after you give me the totals that we have to do.
add it. 5011.
hold on, let me get their numbers first. We'll take care of that and then we'll do that one, okay? Maria, do we have other? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm not gonna. The FICA account, 511150. FICA 511150, an increase of 6872 based on the ads to
Increase of,
$6,872.
okay, based on the ads. And those are the two adjustments that you have?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
One
And-
more. Life insurance 511155,
Yep.
an increase of $1,600. That's for the police life insurance. That's based on negotiations, and that was from HR.
Okay. Can I do those as one motion, those three changes, or do I need to do them as separate?
Everybody's in agreement on.
Anybody have any problem with those three numbers? So may I have a motion to increase fringe benefits, which is the 511150 account, $6,872, to reduce the fringe benefits medical, dental, by $126,475, and to increase the life insurance account 511155 by $1,600. Can I have a motion to do that? So moved. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Paul. And may I take that by unanimous consent? Okay, so those adjustments will be 6-0, unanimous consent. And then, Marty, do you have any other motions?
So I'll motion to, for account
Can you pull the mic
522-107.
down?
Oh, sorry. 522-107, the pension contributions for the town, to increase that by $509,000.
A second, please. Thank you, Dave.
All we're doing here is recognizing that we're going to match the assumptions of the police pension for the town, and that results in a higher ARC. And so, everyone well knows, our town pension is significantly underfunded relative to the police pension, and we should certainly not get in a worse position, and we should match the assumptions of the police pension.
Okay. Discussion? Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, we've always made a commitment to fund it to the ARC. We, the people here right now, I'm not saying we as a town long term. I don't think it's our place to offset what the ARC is and make a determination to that based on what the assumptions are. And that I understand that the police are doing their own thing. I do, but I don't think it's, if we're matching the ARC, I don't think it's our place to start increasing it.
This is, I believe, what's probable to occur is that the town pension board is going to match the assumptions of the police
For next year.
yes, and this will equate to a change in ARC when the assumptions match. So I'm not arguing to pay more than the ARC. I'm just saying as the assumptions change, ARC increases, and that's what this number is.
But we'll also, the new ARC, if I remember correctly or if I understood correctly from our last call, will also be adjusting slightly based on the returns of the market recently, right? Because it gets readjusted again in June of 2024.
It probably gets slightly, but I think that's over a 5-year period. So
Correct.
while it's
Yeah.
helpful that it increased, I think that has a marginal impact. But I'm not arguing to change and pay more than the ARC. I'm arguing to pay the ARC, anticipating that the town is changing their assumptions.
You're choosing to pay the expected ARC of what you think it might change to, not
We should
what
budget
it
for that.
actually is.
Because if they change the assumptions and we don't budget for that, we're going to have a significant hole.
But we pay it the next year.
Now,
Marty, are
Sorry.
you saying you'd expect that they'd come back with a supplemental request, and you're trying to avoid that?
correct. I think we should it's my expectation when the ARC changes based on these new assumptions, that's what we owe. Am I wrong, Maria? Go
No.
ahead.
The actual evaluation is done as of July 1st. We only get that information until December, maybe December, January. So it will only get incorporated in the next year's budget.
Can you, okay, so maybe I
25,
misstated
26.
it. So can you help me understand the information that you did share? Just clarify.
We did an actual evaluation back July 2022. I was asked if we went back and we had provided the same information, the same assumptions to the town pension as we did with the police, what would be the cost? That would be the cost for the last previous years, 23 and 24.
I see. So I slightly misstated that. My concern is what happened, and we've talked about this before. The Board of Finance has no ability to solve this issue. The pension boards don't report into the town council or elsewhere. They have their ability to set their own numbers. What I'm reacting to is that the police have more conservative assumptions than the town pension. The police pension's already funded quite sufficiently, and the town pension is far, far behind. This is an effort to get it caught up. So I misstated it slightly. I thought as we're making the changes, that would be the arc. So this is catch up to that, but matching what the police had done. So I didn't state it correctly, but I still feel strongly that we should be making this investment.
I hear what you're saying. I really do. I do not believe that it should be a budget question. If we want to have that conversation about, in fairness, I would disagree then. But if we're going to, I think it should be a conversation about using our excess general funds and doing a supplemental to that, not put it into the budget to tax during tax season.
I think this should be an ongoing commitment. If we don't, what will continue to occur is that the police pension and the town pension will continue to get further apart in terms of percentage funded. And again, I'll come back. I think that's extremely unfair to the town employees. So I think we should be funding this more aggressively. I don't disagree with the idea that there should probably be, at some point in time, the town should look at putting several millions of dollars into the town pension, not into the police pension, to get this thing caught up. We have work to do. And this is a 20-year fix, but we should get started in doing this now. And it should be repeated on budget by budget by budget. I don't think this should be a one-time event. It needs to get fixed.
I'm not voting for it. I think my words have been clear on that. But I believe we should trust the experts, which are the people coming up with the ARC, stating that that is the required amount that we put in there. And obviously, next year it may be higher, and we'll have to take a new look at that. But I'm good with funding the ARC as long as we hit that at least.
I did have a note from Mark Miscola on the pensions, and he actually urged that we support that. He said that the town pension's significantly underfunded. And if you're going to contribute that increase to the police budget, it should be matched on the town side, especially if we have the ability to do so in this budget season. That was just his comment. So the motion is to add $509,000 to the pension contributions town, the 522107 account. All those in favor of increasing that account by $509,000 signify by saying aye. And against? 4-2. So we will need a new total in employee benefits, Maria.
$21,589,119.
$589,119. The new total for employee benefits, $21,589,119. Signify by saying aye.
Can I ask a question
Yeah, go
before we
ahead.
vote on that? Where are our defined contribution matches for the police?
If you go to 5222, the new plan or the?
Well,
The new
right, because
pension-
we were paying in based
It's-
on the old plan, and being that they switched to a new pension,
Okay,
shouldn't
under-
our defined contribution
That's not
for
the
police go
110
down?
account?
Under 522105 is the new plan for the police, which
Yep.
is 242,000.
Correct.
The 522110 is defined contribution plan, but it includes everyone, not necessarily just police.
Okay,
That's
so that was
everybody.
town and police.
But as you can see, went down.
$3,000.
No, if you look at last year,
Oh, it was 854. Okay. 850, and that is right based on the number of people that switched out.
I'm assuming that's down.
Okay.
I don't have a number.
And I was thrown off because it said town match. I was
Yes.
looking for a police one too. Okay.
Oh, no, that's the town matches all of them. All right, so the new total on employee benefits, $21,589,119. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, 4-2. And then we're moving back to a new total. Did I do this right, Maria? Back to the new total for general government?
Yep.
I just got to find that.
It's right after 101.45.8. 5.8. It's
Hang on. Economic development. Oh, total for general government, please?
30,249,126.
126. The new total for general government, 30,249,126. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? 4-2. And then we'll need a total,
Fund. General fund, which will be after the debt service, after 900.
hang on, going back to debt service, I gotta find it. The total general fund,
$204,859,199.
$199. All those in favor of the total general fund of $204,859,199 signify by saying aye. And against? 4-2. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Any questions? The grand total, after the enterprise funds. So our grand total will be,
$218,565,484.
the grand total of our general government, our general fund, and the total enterprise funds of $218,565,484. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And opposed? 2. All right. That's pretty good. I will take a motion to adjourn this meeting
Motion to adjourn. Sorry,
at
we're getting out before 8.
7:57 p.m. And a second from Paul. Before I say goodnight, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I don't think people realize the amount of time that we spend going through these books and looking at every department, that we really do talk to each other. We make informed decisions. We didn't pull numbers out of a hat this evening. And I just want to say thank you, that it was really, I don't want to say a pleasure because this really isn't fun, but it was a much easier process than it has been for us to be able to talk to each other and to get this done. So thank you. And have a good night.
An hour?
Well done, Laney.